let's talk about some of the iconic photographs of the Beatles.
From day one, it was really important in building that mystique.
You know, when you look back at that whole canon of imagery,
All those classic album covers.
yeah, the press shots, the posters you probably had hanging on your bedroom wall, it is super easy to assume there was some grand design.
Like there was a corporate mandate, a vision board in a boardroom somewhere.
Exactly. But the more you dig into these specific images, the more you realize it wasn't a master plan at all. It was mostly just scrambles, technical failures, and total accidents.
Improvisation that somehow became legendary. And nowhere is that more obvious than with the very first album cover. Please me.
Which is my absolute favorite story. Because the alternative reality version of this cover is it's bizarre. If plan A had worked, you wouldn't be looking at 4 guys on a balcony. No, you'd be looking at them surrounded by spiders and insects.
Which sounds like an urban legend.
It does sound fake, but their producer, George Martin, was dead serious. People forget he had a secret life outside the studio. He was actually a fellow of the Zoological Society of London.
Which is just a crazy detail. The guy arranging strings for Eleanor Rigby is also hanging out at the zoo.
He was very proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, early 1963, they need a debut cover. Martin looks at the band name, B-E-A-T, and he immediately goes for the pun.
Let's put the Beatles with the bugs.
The ultimate dad joke. He wanted to march down to the London Zoo and shoot them inside the insect house, posing next to glass cases of creepy crawlies.
I am just trying to picture John Lennon in 1963 standing next to a tarantula. The attitude would have been scathing.
Oh, he would have shredded the whole concept. But Martin actually pitched it on his official society letterhead. He thought it was a done deal. Here's the bombshell. The zoo said no.
They rejected them.
Flat out refused. The Zoological Society basically said they didn't want these scruffy, loud pop musicians cluttering up the respectable insect exhibits.
That is right up there with Decca Records saying guitar groups are on the way out.
A massive misjudgment. But it left Martin in a total jam. The album's dropping soon, no cover art, no time to book a professional studio. So he has to pivot. He calls an old friend named Angus McBean.
And McBean is not your typical rock and roll photographer.
Not even close. He was nearly 60 years old, a theatrical surrealist who shot high society portraits of Audrey Hepburn, a guy who wore a 3-piece suit to work.
So you have the 60-year-old surrealist and 4 20-year-old rockers who just want to get it over with.
And they've nowhere to shoot. So McBean comes to them. He shows up at EMI House in Manchester Square, walks into the lobby, sees the stairwell, and makes a snap decision. Let's do it here.
Now, photographers have analyzed this shot for decades. That angle, looking straight up at them, feels so towering, like they are giants arriving to conquer the world.
But it wasn't an artistic choice at all. It was a technical limitation. McBean gets there and realizes he only has a standard portrait lens.
So the field of view is way too narrow.
Precisely. If he stood in front of them at eye level, he'd get maybe Ringo's nose and half of Paul's ear. The only way to get enough distance in that small lobby was to go down.
So this dignified older gentleman has to hit the deck.
He is literally lying flat on his back on the cold terrazzo floor of a corporate office building, writhing around, shouting up at these kids on the balcony.
Just telling them to look over the rail.
And that is the secret to the photo. They aren't trying to look tough. They are looking down with these grins that say, what is this crazy old man doing on the floor?
Genuine amusement.
Curiosity. And the whole thing took maybe 20 minutes. McBean snaps a few frames, stands up, dusts off his suit, and says, that'll do.
And accidentally creates the most famous stairwell in music history.
But there is a specific conversation from that day, February 16th, 1963, that is super haunting in retrospect.
Oh, the prophecy.
Yes. McBean is on the floor, chatting with them, and he assumes this band is a flash in the pan. He asks John Lennon how long he thinks they will stay together.
And Lennon drops the hammer.
He looks over the railing and says, oh, about 6 years, I suppose. Whoever heard of a bald beetle?
6 years?
Almost to the day.
He was joking about hair loss, but accidentally nailed the exact expiration date of their chemistry, because we have to fast forward now to May 1969.
The final days.
Yeah.
The Get Back project, what became Let It Be.
The band is falling apart, but they want a full circle moment, a bookend.
So they commission Angus McBean, now even older, to recreate the exact same shot at EMI House.
Same photographer, same stairwell.
But not the same building. EMI had built a new porch structure since 1963 that blocked the spot where McBean needed to lie down.
And in 63, EMI would have told him to take a hike.
Go to the park. But this is 1969. They are an economy unto themselves. So EMI actually tore down the porch.
They dismantled part of their corporate headquarters.
Just so an old man could lie in the exact same spot. And then they rebuilt it after the shoot. It shows the massive shift in power.
The ultimate flex. From getting rejected by a bug zoo to rearranging corporate architecture. But the visual comparison between those two images is devastating.
In the first one, they have uncomplicated delight. Clean-shaven, neat suits.
And the 69 shot, they look like men who have seen a war. Hairy, weary, rumpled.
The eyes are completely different. You can see the death of Brian Epstein, the controversies, the financial messes.
It is all there. And of course, John was still acting up during the shoot.
Naturally. McBean recalled that John laid down on the floor next to him to look through the viewfinder. EMI office staff were literally stepping over a beetle to get to their desks.
Those photos perfectly cap off their ascent and their end, eventually becoming the covers for the red and blue compilation albums.
The perfect visual bookends.
But we can't talk about their visual history without the middle era. The shift from pop product to art.
Entering Robert Freeman.
August 1963. The With the Beatles shoot.
Freeman was a Cambridge-educated jazz photographer. He spent his time in smoky clubs shooting John Coltrane, not pop stars.
Bringing a completely different aesthetic.
Brian Epstein knew they needed that evolution. So he sends Freeman to Bournemouth, where the band has a summer residency. And again, no studio, just a hotel corridor.
The biggest band in the world shooting in the Palace Court Hotel hallway.
Freeman finds a spot with a maroon curtain and natural light flooding from one end.
Creating that famous half-shadow effect.
Right, their faces are half submerged in darkness, floating heads and black turtlenecks. Unsmiling, intense. He was heavily inspired by Astrid Kircher in that existential Hamburg style.
And the band bought into it immediately.
George Harrison called the first cover crap, but said this is the moment they finally became artistic.
It legitimized them to the public, and it became one of the most imitator covers ever.
Yeah.
But Freeman barely got paid for it.
75 pounds. Brian Epstein negotiated it as 3 times the normal fee, but Freeman later admitted it was a bargain because it made him a legend.
Definitely. He shot 5 consecutive covers, moving them all the way toward the Sgt. Pepper era.
But his absolute masterpiece, Rubber Soul, was another total accident.
1965, the music is getting psychedelic, and the cover has that stretched, warped look.
Everyone assumes it was a darkroom trick.
Yeah.
But it's just gravity. Freeman was projecting slides onto a piece of cardboard to show the band.
And the card slipped.
It tilted backward just slightly. The image elongated, stretching their foreheads and making their chins pointy.
And before he could fix it, the band shouted, "Can we have that?"
They saw it match their new sound perfectly. A standard portrait wouldn't fit a record with Norwegian wood. They needed something bent.
It ties everything together. McBean uses the wrong lens. Freeman drops a card. Their visual history is defined by happy accidents and just saying yes to the unexpected.
They embraced the flaws instead of polishing them away.
And did it all with incredible style.
In about 20 minutes.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Whenever you feel like knowing more about the Beatles, visit us at BeatlesRewind.com. It's the Beatles all day, every day, 8 days a week. Cass, we'll do it again tomorrow.
I wouldn't miss it for the world. See you then.
Until next time.
When your mind records its own images,